Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the brand new Tier 7 Commonwealth ship from Canada, the Haida, or the Haida. Let me know which one it is. But we are going to be running the only commander that really needs to be running, I guess. It is Leonard. God, what am I doing? Leonard W. Murray. We are running Eric Bay and Jerzy Swirsky as our inspirations. You could swap one of these guys out for Sims or whatever you want to do to try to get a little more health if that's what you're into. Personally, I find that being able to get up close and personal when you have very limited tools is your best bet. His base trait, part of something bigger, maximum hit points are higher, and maximum movement speed is a little bit higher. We're running Burn It Down, XXL. We are running Look at Me Now. We have Back in Stock for a little bit faster reload on our torps. And we are running Reaching Out XXL so that we can fire our guns further. This could obviously be changed over for smoke on the water, but the smoke that you have on this ship is a creeping smoke. It's not really... I don't know. It's not used in this sense, so that's why I didn't go for that. On steering, you got good enough steering that you don't need to go too crazy with this, so that's why I went with extra range. And then obviously Unstoppable. You want to run Unstoppable because the engine will get knocked out anytime you're in a gunfight in this thing. It just always loses its engine. I thought about running fully packed, but yeah, for me, Unstoppable. You just have your engine get knocked out way too many times in the ship, so we'll go over why in a minute. But our actual build, we are running Aiming Systems Mod 1. We are running Propulsion Mod, which I don't run a lot, but in these kinds of ships, it does come in handy because you're slowing down, speeding up a lot. However, just keep in mind that this does affect your ability to dodge a lot of torpedoes and stuff, so be careful. Because you'll tend to shove yourself through a turn rather than just turn. That's one of the downsides of Propulsion Mod that nobody talks about except me for some reason. It completely changes the way your ship turns, and it will literally shove you into torpedoes and stuff if you're not careful. Ask me how I know. Concealment System Mod, because obviously sneaky, gotta be sneaky. And then of course we are running the Main Battery Mod 3. You could swap this for either. You could go with the Torpedo Mod or this. I don't know. It just seems like this would be the way to go. As you do more damage during the match, your fire rate gets better. This thing becomes a bit of a gunboat. It is obviously a gunboat, but we'll go over that too. It's not a very amazing gunboat, but it's decent enough. Now, if we go into specs, survivability, 19,130 hit points. Again, if you throw Sims on there, you're probably going to be in a 23,000 to 24,000 range. So you get a lot more beef in there. That's up to you. But I prefer the concealment because the concealment is one of the selling points of this ship. It is very sneaky. I believe it's the sneakiest ship at the tier now, except maybe a French ship or French destroyer running Go All Out. But we don't have to worry about going all out because we get that all the time. But yeah, 120 millimeter 45 caliber CP 19s. You get 6 of those. God, I hate Roman numerals. 6 of those, and you get but they're only 120 mil. So what does this mean? It means you can pin some things, but like anything with armor, you're not going to pin with the HE. You're just going to shatter. So aiming superstructure is critical. Don't be afraid to use AP on this ship. The AP is actually pretty good. We'll showcase some of that as well when I get a chance. But yeah, this is not a particularly good ship unless everybody is running towards you. Like, if everybody is just flowing in your direction, you can do some pretty nasty things with this. But the reload time currently is 4 seconds, and that goes down over time. Obviously, with every 30,000 damage, we're going to get a little bit faster reload, turning this thing into a prolific gunboat eventually. And by prolific gunboat, I mean it gets down to about 3 seconds, which is pretty solid. 180-degree turn time is not the greatest for a destroyer. You'll notice that, but it's not terrible. Just due to the fact that, like, the guns generally are where you need them, and the worst case scenario, the rear turrets, you have to wait a second for them to get there. But yeah, you could buff it if you want. Personally, I don't worry about it. HE shell maximum damage 2,000 with a 7% fire chance. AP shell maximum damage is only 2,200. It's pretty bad. Secondary armament, you get 2 of them. 102 millimeter 45 caliber QF Mark 19s. Yeah. Firing range, 4.2 kilometers. 3-second reload time. I don't know how the reload is worse on the secondaries than they are on the primaries, but I'm sure there's an answer out there. And then the HE shells, 1,500 maximum damage with an 8% chance to set fires. Torpedoes. You have one quad launcher, 533 millimeter QR Mark 2s, 75.2 second reload with this build, 6-second 180 degree turn time, which nobody cares about, and then maximum damage is 17,433. I believe that makes these the heaviest hitting 533 millimeter torpedoes. I could be wrong, but these 533 millimeter torpedoes actually slap if they hit. Torpedo detectability by sea is 1.4 kilometers, so pretty average in that sense. Torpedo range is not amazing. 8.3 kilometers really limits your options, but honestly, again, if they're flowing towards you, these torpedoes are perfect. I don't have any problem with them. And they reload decent for a quad launcher, but yeah, only having 4 of them is pretty rough. And they're not the fastest torps, but they're not slow either. They're pretty average. That's probably the best way to describe most of this ship. It's pretty average. AA defense, don't bother. 20 millimeter Oerlikon Mark 5s, you get 12 of those doing 37 damage per second at 2 kilometers. 40 millimeter 39 QF Mark 7s, you get 4 of those doing 13 damage per second, reaching out to 2.5 kilometers. And then the 102 millimeter 45 QF Mark 19s, you get the 2 dual purpose secondaries doing 9 damage per second, reaching out to 5 kilometers. It's bad, okay? I find myself in a carrier with a lobby, or in a lobby with a carrier. I am all over the place. I apologize, folks. If I find myself in a lobby with a carrier, I turn my AA off unless I'm being harassed by the carrier. If the carrier knows where I'm at and the gig is up, turn it on. You'll shoot maybe 1 or 2 planes down over the course of the game. But otherwise, you're just at the mercy of a carrier, and trust me, you're going to lose. You can dodge all you want, but eventually they're going to hit you. 37 knot maximum speed, so pretty solid there. Not slow, not fast. Pretty average. 630 meter turning circle is okay, but not amazing. It's agile enough, but again, remember we're running the propulsion mod, so take that with a grain of salt. That could be worse. 3.8 seconds is the rudder shift time, so it's pretty agile in terms of being able to shift back and forth, dodging shells pretty easily. Detectability by sea, this is its shining point. 4.9 kilometers with this build. That is the power of concealment, baby. And anytime you have concealment, you have the ability to potentially ruin one person or multiple people's days. Because you can get away with stuff that you wouldn't normally get away with in other ships. And that is why I think this ship maybe has a potential spot. But honestly, this ship is pretty meh at the tier. I mean, there are so many way better ships. If you're Canadian and you want this ship, more power to you. You've got about the most average ship on the planet with a decent concealment. But otherwise, you're probably not going to enjoy it. Detectability by air is 2.9 kilometers. Guaranteed is always 2, and the 2.4 kilometer detectability while firing in smoke is pretty absurd. But that's destroyers for you. Statistics. You guys ready to be saddened? Here you go. 25% win rate. I've played just 4 games in it, and I got 1 game that I'm willing to show you guys, and the rest are freaking awful, and I'll probably never play the ship again. Damage to ships average is 32,000, but again, I don't play to get damage. I play for wins, right? And as you can see, I'm not winning. Shocker. 1,323 base XP. Yeah, not good. It's just not good. Armor. Let's talk about the non-existent armor. And the reason why this and other British destroyers get absolutely pwned against good destroyers. And that is, you have no armor at all. So you're not gonna be able to do anything there. And your entire ship is above the waterline. I don't know how it's possible to have that much ship above the waterline and not tip over. But yeah, that is why you get absolutely okay? And look how much of your engineering section is above the waterline. This is why your engines get knocked out so much. People tend to shoot towards the middle of the ship, and your engines are right there getting ready to be knocked out at any given moment. So, yeah. Not ideal. This is why these older destroyers get absolutely crapped on by better destroyers. It's just that they stick up so far out of the water. And that leads me to another thing. How can so much ship be above the water and still be so sneaky? If you got an answer for that one, let me know. Hidden, good concealment. That's the one good thing about this. Sequential torpedoes. Yes, it is a British, even though it's Commonwealth. It was given to, or built for Canada, I guess. But either way, it's a British destroyer. I believe a town class, or tribal class. Tribal class. It says so right there in the thing, Spartan. Read. But so it does have sequential torpedoes. But then again, there's only 4 of them. So just generally, I don't even bother 2x2. I'd rather hit something than miss all of them. Extended smoke gives you increased smoke screen duration, but again, it is a creeping smoke screen. And if you don't know what I mean, it's kind of like the Italian smoke screen, only worse. It means that you can be moving, and it'll smoke you. But it doesn't really do any good if you're firing your guns, because you're outrunning your smoke most of the time, unless you slow way down. The other way you can utilize the smoke is by turning away from people. If you're using the smoke to conceal you to the people that you're spotting, you can actually kind of cheese the smoke a little bit and be able to still spot, and still be able to not get spotted when your smoke puffs and you shoot your guns. So just little things like that you're going to have to learn if you're going to play these ships pretty well. Haida, a tribal class destroyer built for the Royal Canadian Navy. In contrast to British ships of the series that were commissioned before the beginning of World War II, she had stronger AA defenses. Yeah, that would be nice. Installed in place of one of the main battery mounts. Give me the main battery gun, please. I don't want the AAs. I don't. Just get rid of this little AA and give me the freaking gun back. But entered service in 1943, and there were 27 ships in the series. So let's take a look at it. It's a British destroyer. What more could I say? It's not a bad looking destroyer, but again, there's so much of it sticking above the water that it's just not ideal. But yeah, as we fly around the ship, we can see just how this ship is just a thing. Now, I do wish, and this is just a pet peeve of mine, you know what country the freaking ship is for, Wargaming. I understand you're putting it with the Commonwealth flag. Give it the freaking country's flag. Put the Canadian flag on there, man. You guys have the Canadian flag in the game. It's not like you don't. I've seen it. So put the Canadian flag on there. Give the Canadians what they want. But with that being said, let's get to our gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Sea of Fortune. But before we get started, can we just mention one more thing? Why the f does Wargaming keep releasing ships without proper commanders for those ships? I guess, why is it every single time? Now, who wants to place a bet on whether the first time they decide to introduce a new commander for this line, it's going to be some premium commander? Place your bets down in the comments below. Also, if you guys are new to the channel and you guys haven't subscribed yet, and you like what I'm doing, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. It's completely free, and if you dislike me at any time, you can unsub. It's free to do so. Now, we are going to be pushing forward initially, and we're going to be trying to get into the Charlie cap to see what we can get away with. Because, again, you lack a lot of the normal tools that I use as a destroyer player. But the one tool that you do have at your disposal is concealment. And that comes in handy. This is a carrier match. We have the AA off, as you can see up there in the top left corner, right below the concealment range, is a way to keep me from being harassed by the carrier, but fortunately for me, the carrier spawns on the other side of the map, and I ain't going to worry about him. But that doesn't mean I'm not in trouble, because their entire team that spawns anywhere near me is going to be flowing into my side of the map. Now, when I say that, I want you to remember that these guys are not going to play particularly well. If these guys were smart, they would have a better chance. And yet, when you see the result, you're going to be like, that's pretty meh for what happened. And I agree. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, first things first, I got to give it to whoever launched these torpedoes. I think it ends up being the Akazuki. But somebody over here launches like the perfect set of torpedoes that could have absolutely been real bad for my health. Fortunately, I'm able to just creep up. They were widespread torpedoes. If you're going to launch torpedoes like this, don't be widespread. Just don't do it. You're wasting your time. But yeah, I appreciate it anyway. Allows me to still stay in the cap. Again, I want to get this cap, do my job spotting for my team. I don't want to smoke up or anything like that. Just want to keep my team spotting. Now, this is something else I need to mention right now. Destroyer players, for the love of God, stop dying 30 seconds into the match. I know there are some times you just can't avoid it. I get that. There are some times that whatever happens is so freaking crazy that it catches you off guard and you just can't avoid it. But, that being said, you guys are our only eyes, okay? So please, stop dying 30 seconds into the match. Do what you have to avoid dying 30 seconds into the match, okay? But yeah, with the new rework to the spotting system in the game, destroyers and even cruisers that have very good concealment need to start utilizing their ability to spot. And that's going to be something that's going to be hard for a lot of people to master. But watch the torpedoes. Wait for it. See that torpedo that hit something? That was a destroyer. You know what else is over here? Another destroyer who didn't get hit by a torpedo. So we know that both of their destroyers are here, which is good to know, especially when they're both gunboats, and we have, you know, not necessarily the best gunboat in the world. It's not a bad gunboat, don't get me wrong. It's got 6 guns, and they pack a punch. They can use the HE against destroyers, or they can use the AP. So they're not bad guns. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that when it comes down to it, you've got a lot of ships sticking out the water. But we are going to utilize positioning, get a few early shots on the Osterjutland, try to finish him off. Unfortunately, our Monarch decides to YOLO in for reasons, and then die as quickly as humanly possible in one of the tankiest ships in Tier 7. You know, it is what it is, but we can't help that. We're too busy gunning down an Osterjutland, a Pan-Euro destroyer, right? So it's the Commonwealth versus the Pan-Europeans. Who's gonna win? Well, I'll give you an idea. The guy that started firing 3 minutes ago. It's just that simple. He plays around too long, ends up getting finished off by our Wichita, by the way. York starts pushing up this flank, so I'm not about that life. I'm gonna double back. Wait till you see what this thing does to this York later on. But we're gonna double back. We're gonna try to put ourselves in position to stop these battleships from pushing in. We know that they have a destroyer here as well. But if we can get out in front of these battleships and hopefully stop them, then we can still hold this side. At this point, it is just me and the carrier holding this side. There's a battleship back there. I don't know if he's actually shooting or not. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and launch these torpedoes, waiting for the Amagi's torp signature to get past the island. As soon as we can, we drop those torps. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this carrier dropping the torps, thankfully he's, I think, dropping the Veneto in this smoke screen, so that kind of lets the Amagi keep going into the cap, which is perfect for me because I've already got the torps there. Now, what happens next is we're actually going to get into a bit of a tuffle. Tuffle with the guy that we've already hit with a torpedo, which is the Akazuki that's over here. And those torps are looking absolutely fantastic. The Amagi decided to turn back out. Initially, he turned inside. I thought I was going to miss, but he turns back out. Those torps look fantastic. The Akazuki gets spotted at long range, and this is exactly what I'm saying when it comes to the concealment. Allows you to do things and get away with things. We hit the Amagi with 2 torpedoes, and we're starting to engage the Akazuki, but notice that I turn away from the Akazuki, and that allows me to go dark. This is what I'm talking about with being able to continue to spot people, but also use your smoke screen. Now, I get very lucky here. I am driving via the minimap, trying to avoid these islands, and you can see I do check just to make sure. But you can use this creeping smoke screen as kind of a funky little get out of jail. It allows you to maintain spots on your enemy, but it also allows you to get yourself into a position where you're not always detected. You can kind of blink in and out of existence. And if you've ever fired at enemies that do that, you know that it can be absolutely annoying to land consistent hits with that. But right now, with the Amagi pushing in so close, trying to maintain the gunfight with the Akazuki is out of the question. So we're going to try to get rid of the Amagi. He makes another turn away from us, which just makes him even juicier of a target for us. So we go ahead and get the torps out there. We're going to go ahead and fire the guns at the Veneto, trying to help get rid of him. And unfortunately, the Amagi speeds up and gets away from those torps. That is just the worst. But now that we have a position, I'm not paying attention to the minimap right now. There's a cruiser right across from me, and I wouldn't pay attention. I was just like focused on trying to get rid of these guys that are rushing me. And you can see Akazuki's there as well. I take a couple shots at the Amagi, thinking he's going to go down to the torps from the carrier. I get lucky. He lives just enough for me to finish off. And now we're engaging the Akazuki. Akazuki immediately smokes up, turns away, knows he can't win a gunfight here. So he's just trying to stay alive. But you can see in a moment, I'm about to have a brown pants moment. Hello, Rochester. Please don't notice me. This is one of those times where you just like smile and wave and pray to God you disappear. Now, the other thing that this is doing is keep me spotted for the guy sitting in the smoke screen, right? But we have the advantage over the Akizuki in the fact that we have sonar. Fortunately for us, we're able to take minimal damage in that situation, getting out of the way. And we're going to drop some torps into the smoke just in case. We're going to get our sonar on. Now, we only have a 4.3 kilometer surface detection with our sonar, but that's a lot better than the surface detection of that Akizuki in the smoke. So in this case, I rush straight at him. I've got the hit point advantage, I have potent guns, and we're in a situation where he's pretty much screwed. If he backs up, he dies to torps. If he goes forward, we end up catching him coming through the gap. So he can't really torp us here unless he just commits to torpedoes, right? In which case, I'll just gun him down. But he starts kind of like creeping around the corner, so he can't shoot initially, and we get 2 shots before he even gets a chance to shoot us. We're aiming high, trying to hit the middle of the ship here, trying to get away from the bow saturation, and then we're able to finish him off in relatively short order, giving us 90,000 damage at our second kill of the game. Now, the carrier's going over and doing his job against the York. I thought the York was AFK at this point, because the York is just kind of sitting there waiting to die, but it could just be his way of dodging the carrier. I don't know. I tend to maneuver my ship when I'm trying to avoid the carrier, and clearly that's the wrong way to do it, right? You just sit there and wait to die. But as our smoke from the Akizuki disappears, we're going to go ahead and try some of the AP. This is why I say don't sleep on the AP of this ship. Now, first shot, I aim a little higher. You can see we do get sonar here. Again, the York, I got to give him credit. He does do a good job sonaring, but he's using AP at me, which is not the way to go. But we're going to go ahead and just take and get overpinned by him, and we're actually citadeling this man with our AP when we get a chance. But yeah, he gets some more shots out. He's going to do some damage, but we're going to citadel him and finish him off. And this is what I'm saying, like, don't sleep on the AP. If we're able to do that to a York, we can do that to most cruisers. So keep that in mind. Do I recommend it? No. But if you can put yourself in a position where you've got a broadside cruiser or even broadside battleships and you can aim above the armor belt, this AP could potentially be nasty. But 100k is not anything to sneeze at, but we got 3,300 base XP holding our side against all odds. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think the Canadians should have a Canadian flag on their Haida? If you have the Canadian flag unlocked, I forget what the code was on Instagram. You might have to go back in time and look it up. But there was like different nations' flags on Instagram, so you should be able to find a Canadian flag that way and slap it on there. But I still think that even though it's part of the Commonwealth, then it should have the nation's flag as the second flag so people can have their own custom flags for whatever they want. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.